Hi everyone, I'm Charlotte Kilpatrick reporting for Vaccine Nation from the World Vaccine Congress in Washington. Today I'm delighted that we're joined by Dr. Kasmar of Parexel. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Charlotte, and really great to be here with everyone.
Thank you. So to kick us off, would you kindly introduce yourself and the role that you play within your organization?
Sure, I'm Ann Kasmar. I'm an infectious disease trained physician scientist, and I'm Senior Vice President and Head of Vaccines and Infectious Diseases at Parexel.
Fantastic.
And what that means is that I lead a team of 12 physicians globally, 5 in the US, 4 in the EU, and 3 in APAC. We also cover and represent globally, so including Latin America and Africa.
Wow. Great reach there. So you joined us at the Congress to discuss sustainable speed at scale for vaccine development. What were some of the key issues or concerns that came up during this discussion?
Good question. So I should say the reason for titling the session "Sustainable Speed at Scale" is, how humbled I am and how proud I am of how much the field of infectious diseases and vaccinology achieved during the pandemic. I mean, it's extraordinary, and people worked. I mean, the whole global community worked at an unsustainable pace. And so the key question is, how can we continue that amazing pace of progress without burning everybody out, without warp speed investment? How can we still make substantial progress? And really, we've learned a lot at Parexel over the past few years in the seasonal space, so the seasonal flu, RSV space, where continuing with COVID, how can we enroll seasonal trials within the confines of a single season? It's often thousands or tens of thousands of participants, and they're global. So how can we maintain that speed at scale with inclusion, and now including more broadly younger populations, pregnant persons, older populations. And so that was the ingoing hypothesis: is we're doing it. How can we do it sustainably and maintain a very quick pace for the field, but not the same quite pace as COVID? And so that really requires partnership, and it requires a lot of the innovations that were developed during COVID at the site level, within the site alliance networks, within the individual sites, within investigators. They implemented a lot of new innovations during COVID, some of which are extraordinarily helpful and form the foundation for the speed we're able to maintain during these large seasonal trials. So the conversation was really, hey, Parexel has done a lot of that work. We've done it in partnership. Here's some insights from our partners, including both Bo Vaughn from Clinical Research Partners talking about the site perspective, and then also the dependence on some of these participant-facing tools. And so we had Keith Kennedy from Metadata share about the ePros and other tools that really enable these large studies.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that comprehensive overview. So we're talking about sustainability, speed, and scale. What are some of the key challenges, either with all three or any of those, that you can identify for us?
This is a hard one. Since I'm new to the role, new to the company, new to this part of the ecosystem, I do think, so let's take them one at a time. I mean, sustainability, we hired people during COVID because it was a huge amount of work. And both, there's lots of opportunity for new people to enter the field at every level. So whether it's the clinical research associate levels, site staff, members of my team. So I think part of sustainability is recruiting new people into the workforce, and then providing high quality training so that they can upskill in a timely fashion. So whether it's study-specific training, role-specific training, we have an incredible resource through the Parexel Academy that is really geared to provide that kind of high quality training across functions and roles. So some of sustainability, I think, is revitalizing, replenishing, and growing the workforce, both new people and then from new communities and new geographies. So that's part of sustainability. Speed, I think, it's streamlining the processes and systems. So working as one team across the different parts of the process, whether it's internally at Parexel, we work incredibly closely with our colleagues in clinical operations at my team in medical. Also, of course, biometrics and biostats and the other functions, CTSNL. So I think the speed is dependent on, or maintaining this sustainable speed is now streamlining the processes. We have now started data cleaning in real time so that you don't have tens of thousands of participant data, and I don't even want to imagine what number of queries that will be to resolve at one time point. So yes, sustainability is about the workforce, and the speed is about the processes and streamlining the processes, and having open and transparent communication across the partners to surface issues in real time. And then the scale is, we want to be able to do this globally, and to not just depend on the same sites we've always gone to, but to have global scale in doing these really important, high volume, and safe, highly effective new tools. We want to be able to test those globally. So I think that's the story, is that it's, we learned so much from COVID, and we want to really now implement that into regular business as usual across the board. And the last thing I'll say is, when at other parts of my career, the motto has been a good one, which is, if you want to go fast, go alone, and if you want to go far, go together. I like that. I agree with that. And I think this moment is about going far together. And so I'm all into that, and I think the teamwork in this part of the ecosystem and clinical development is what it takes to get it done.
Fantastic. Love that motto. It's great. So you mentioned a few of the ways that Parexel is sort of addressing these challenges, including the academy that you mentioned. Can you tell us a bit more about the solutions that you're bringing, the innovation and the strategies that you're providing?
It's definitely interdisciplinary, so I probably can't speak to all the things. I do think having a vaccine alliance network that has, many sites, many investigators, that now I just learned that they have a quarterly pulse where they surface sort of like a community of practice. What works, what could work better, how do they prep for their bulk vaccination days? How do they build their database? How do they QC the database? Is there some third party they work with that all the sites should work with? So I think some of the innovation is really bubbling up out of the individual sites through the Site Alliance Network, and now with these regular touch points to share their insights. I think, we do a lot of studies. We're very fortunate to do a good job and frequently win repeat business. And so that's where we can streamline, because we're now familiar with the sponsor and how they like to do things or how they're built to do things. And then we have, repeat partnerships with vendors, which enables us to streamline and iterate and continuously. I think it's about continuous process improvement within everything we do. So whether that's interaction with the sponsor, interaction with the vendor, interaction with the site, always keeping the participant at the center of things, and then building out the trainings, right? So, if we build out, let's say, flu Parexel Academy training for one study, well, every study we do in flu can use that training.
Yeah. Great, thank you so much. So we're really glad to have Parexel here at the event again. It's wonderful to continue this relationship. But what have you enjoyed about your time here? And are you taking something with you? Have you learned or made any new connections?
Thank you so much. So this is my first, I guess I went to the Santa Clara event. This one has a lot more buzz, a lot more people, and I have really loved it. First and foremost, I've just loved seeing so many colleagues and friends. It's really wonderful. So that's the first thing. And then, every booth I learned something different. I started out my career as an immunologist making tetramers, and I saw that Immudex, a booth which I worked with like 15 years ago. So it's a walk down memory lane, and then spontaneous connections with people that I first worked with in Africa who I haven't seen since then. So it's great for that. And then I think, there's so many lessons to be gleaned listening to the different talks and meeting up with colleagues and sort of just walking to coffee and talking about what's on our mind. But the session that I really appreciated the most and think will have the most impact for the field was actually the Economist Impact session. So they have developed an immunization readiness index, which I think is magnificent, actually. I definitely am going to spend a bunch of time reviewing that and thinking about how that intersects with So the Immunization Readiness Index, how does that intersect with where we do our studies, and how can we use our studies to drive that readiness? So I really think that's something we all should pay attention to and incorporate, and perhaps you will, as they have updates, share them with us through the Vaccine Nation, which I read every week. So.
It's lovely to hear that you are a follower of Vaccine Nation. We've been blessed to speak to some representatives from Economist Impact, so we're hoping to share their perspectives on the blog as well. And it's a pleasure to have spoken to you. Thank you so much for your insights and for joining us today.
Thanks, Charlotte. Really appreciate it.